there's been a lot of campaigns, and I've done a lot of different things. I mean, you know, I've had artists die mid-campaign.
Who died?
Lil Peep.
Oh fuck! Of course. Let's get onto that then, because is that where you moved after 11/7?
So,
or how come you left 11/7?
So I left 11/7 because my time was up. I was made redundant from the company. They brought someone else in. I think, upon reflection, I think the job was too much for me, but I didn't know that when I took it. And after 2 years, I was aware of it. Okay. So it was a very natural ending. And actually,
in what respect was it too much?
I think the expectation on the job was they needed someone far more experienced than me. And, you know, I was young and cocky at the time. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. But actually, you can't do everything. You may think you can. And guess what happens when you take that attitude all the time? You get burnt. And I got burnt. I burnt myself out. But also, you know, my performance wasn't what the company needed. But actually, my experience wasn't what the company needed, which is why my performance wasn't right. So they brought in someone who I think had been director at MTV for 15 years, like senior director, to replace my role, which was very much more day-to-day operations, getting shit done versus big picture vision. I wasn't capable of doing that at the time. That's a learning curve which you can only get from experience. I was too young. The reality is it was a good idea and it did work for a while, but eventually the job transformed into a bigger thing, which I wasn't capable of doing. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the expertise. What I did have was arrogance, which was wrong. Maybe arrogance is the wrong word. Cockiness. I don't think I was ever arrogant. Cocky, yes. Arrogant, I don't like that trait at all. It's important to know that you know something and be confident in knowing that you know it. But I actually got a job offer from First Access, which is Sarah Stennett's company, to go and work on the Lil Peep team before I was made redundant from 11/7.
Yeah.
But they both went down in the same week. So it was amazing. I literally finished 11/7 and the next week started, like literally finished on the Thursday, started on the Monday. I joined First Access to be part of the team that basically running the in-house label again, like the 11/7 setup. Lil Peep, who I met once, but was heavily involved in the campaign in terms of UK operations. The artist died before we could get to the end of the campaign. That is, I mean, what an incredible artist. What a devastating story.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's horrendous. I mean, that was a whole new sort of wave of music when
it was game changer. Yeah. I was there setting up, running the embryonic in-house label that they had set up. So being quite operations based, which I enjoy. And because of my knowledge of the rock world, Sarah wanted me to be part of her company because it would then be useful with the Peep world. Now, it was a revolution wasn't a revolution in terms of music sound, but it was a revolution in terms of the kids that liked this music kind of came out of a generation of music fans were born off the back of Lil Peep. And not every artist can say that that's happened to them, but to Lil Peep, it certainly did. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid and my partner's favorite band is Placebo, right? Placebo were a center of gravity for the Misfits. Lil Peep was the same thing, but this time it happened when the internet was here and when the world was far more connected and smaller. And so the community that came together around this artist was phenomenal. We're talking millions and millions of kids. Still to this day, I still get emails. I got one yesterday from Russian kids pretending to be my ex-colleagues at First Access, asking if I've got any Peep files still that I can send them because they've lost access to the drive. It's weird.
That's crazy, man. So I guess then at the label, you were completely feeling that. So what was your day-to-day involved in the campaign?
So as I say, I was very operational based then. So really what that was doing was applying the knowledge that I've got about best practices regarding releases, what to release, when to release it. Far less interesting than doing like day-to-day management stuff, but something I really enjoy is the nuts and bolts stuff. So for Peep, it was actually very ops based, but working within the team. And actually the key thing that I did was bring together the London rock world and some Germans to the Peep show in London. I ran the night, booked a back room with Visitors Academy, put a bar in there, basically got all the movers and shakers, if you will, to meet Sarah, who was not from the rock world, admittedly. I was a connector, a gopher, in a good way.
So is that when you met him?
I met him in the office. It was about First Access has a studio downstairs, and Sarah's partner George is a songwriter, and he's part of the Invisible Men, which is an amazing production team. And the Invisible Men were working with Gus, so Gus was in and out the office various times. You know, it's an interesting thing when you work for a label. You don't meet artists half as much as you think you would.
Yeah.
So so I met him. Did I spend a lot of time with him? No. Did I spend a lot of time with his music? Yes, absolutely. Campaign was where I live, not in the artist management world. So yeah, doing lots of stuff which on the face of it is boring, but making sure that the right people have got the music, making sure the music is scheduled to go out at the right time. Backroom operations at labels are the job of labels. Going for dinner or watching a gig or listening to an album is not the job of labels.
Yeah.
Getting the music out. As I said, no artist is going to complain and they're getting paid, but artists will complain if the records aren't coming out, and that's true no matter where you go.
Do you know if he was particularly involved in the mechanics of it all?
He was one of those artists that wanted the music out and would have put it out on SoundCloud for free if he could, and did. Problem with that is that the music may have cost a lot of money to make, or indeed the artist has expectations around their income, and indeed if the artist isn't getting paid, then the manager isn't getting paid, or the label's not getting paid. So actually this speaks to what labels are really meant to be good at, and what a good manager is actually helping an artist realize the junction between their artistic vision and their output, the creative output, and their ability to monetize that.
Do you think that music scene died when he did?
Yeah, totally. Because there are a slew of artists in his slipstream, people like Bexy, people like Fat Nick, who incredible artists in their own right, but they lost their gang leader, and no one came close. I mean, artists that come close to Peep were bigger than Peep in the first place, so people like Little Uzi Vert, but they were in a different league in the first place.
Yeah.
The fact Gus was even compared to them is amazing for Lil Peep. But no, I do think that scene died. What we called it, was it SoundCloud rap? Was that what we called it at the time? I don't know. Mumble rap was...
Mumble rap became like the recognised word, I guess.
Yeah.
What happened to the campaign then when that happened? What was the reaction?
I remember that when it happened, I think I woke up about 7:15, and my partner at the time was like, "It's in the news." I was like, "Woken up? Of course I was in the news. What are you about?" She was off out early, and I was like, "Just look at your phone." So obviously it's like, wow, like this doesn't happen every day. Terrible. You know what I thought? What hit me first was there are going to be an incredible amount of kids crying today because their hero has died. I cried. I didn't even know Gus very well. I cried for sure because you're emotionally invested in the campaign, and you know how much it means to other people. And it hit me pretty hard, that actually, and I wouldn't even say I was close to him at all.
Did it ever else hurt the other people involved in the campaign? And
yeah, and there was some kind of media controversy about nothing I can really particularly talk about because it's not something that is true, but there was some. When an artist is on tour, if they are given drugs by a fan and they take the drugs, what can the manager in a different country do about that? it's a terrible situation. That's what happened. It's a terrible situation. And immediately with grief comes questions. How did this happen? Why did it happen? That turned into a bit of a circus around the situation, which is unfortunate, because actually what really mattered here is that an incredible young kid had passed away, and an incredibly powerful drug, fentanyl, had struck yet again in America. We're so lucky that we don't have that drug in this country, because it would be a different world if we did. So yeah, it hit people very hard, and it's so unfortunate. It's an actual tragedy.